Hello and welcome to Under the Lens. We are here once again on this Sunday evening, breaking down another prospect, and we have a new guest. Our good friend Chandler Miller is here. Chandler, how are you doing today on this fine Sunday evening after the 4th of July?
I'm doing great. I just watched the U.S. smack down Japan for the World Cup final. I had a bunch of friends over. It's been a good day.
Yes, it was. I'm not a but that whole U.S. team watching it, that was a lot of fun.
It was.
So today we're going to break down a guy who, coming out of high school, hugely nationally named recruit. He was Scout.com, numerous other sites said number one recruit in the nation. Robert Nkemdiche, Ole Miss, just a freak of nature coming out of high school. But going into 2016, there's some mixed things on him. Some guys have him as top 10 prospect. Some have him top 3. Some have him top 20. So before we get into him, Chandler, where do you have him?
Right now, I'd probably put him on the fringe of the first round. There's a lot of things I see on film that I don't like. And, of course, we're going to get into it in just a second, so I'm excited for that. I'd put him on the fringe first because he has tremendous athletic ability, and that's why he was so highly touted coming out of high school. But I think there's a lot of holes in his game that need to be filled. So we'll see how he does this year. I guess you guys will. I won't. Yeah, we'll see.
And do you think that his freak athleticism is why many people have him top 10, top 5 player?
Yeah, I think he gets a lot of undue hype because of how he was recruited originally. And I kind of fell victim to that for a little while. I saw a lot of splash plays sometimes when I'd be watching him live, not really paying attention to what was going on. And then just hearing his name and knowing his hype from his recruitment, it made a lot of sense. And so I kind of bought into the hype at first, and then I kind of started watching the film, and I didn't like what I saw for the most part. So.
And before we jump to this game, it's going to be versus Boise State. What are some things that, in your first watching this game, that jumped out to you, and some things just people should look for?
Well, for starters, Boise State's offensive line is not all too impressive to begin with. If Robert Nkemdiche is a top 10 pick, as many are claiming him to be, he should absolutely dominate this game. And as you're about to see, he really didn't. And I think there's a lot to be desired from his play. And so we'll break it down real quick, but there's a lot I didn't like that I saw. So let's get into it.
Let's do that.
I believe Football Outsiders had Boise State as a fairly average offensive line. But from what I've seen, their pass rush sets have not been impressive. So.
Well, that's the thing. And we're talking about not a big – Boise State used to be a huge program, obviously. Mm-hmm. But, it was still – they weren't recruiting these huge names. So we're talking about an average offensive line in college football. Going to the NFL, that's going to be an even bigger issue because Boise State doesn't sniff an NFL offensive line.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so he's at 3 technique on this play. Off the ball, drives his shoulder into the shoulder of the guard, gets double teamed by the center, and ends up about 4 yards off the ball. And he ends up making the tackle right here, which a lot of people would look at as, look at that effort and look at the hustle, but I care a lot more that he got driven 4 yards off the ball to begin the play. Once again at 3 technique. He chooses both. He can't do that. And Matt, I think you're muted, buddy. There we go. Not much to... There are some snaps that really aren't relevant when scouting, and this is one of them. This is the game, and maybe a lot of you would remember that a bunch of Ole Miss defenders just lit up some Boise State skill players. There were a lot of hard hits in this game, and you're about to see. So this is one thing I noticed a lot with Nkemdiche is, so he starts off the play, rather than using his hands, he just drives his shoulder into almost the chest of the guard right here. And then when he runs out of room, he just spins. Right there, tries to spin back into an open space rather than just using his hands to begin with. What you're going to realize quickly is that he's meant to be a one-gap penetrator, and his strength is basically he's quick off the ball, but other than that, he's not going to have a lot of success because of just how he handles it right after he explodes off the snap. I think this... Yeah. Right? Okay, no, this isn't it. There's a snap coming up that I'd especially like to talk about. This isn't it.
It's just you mentioned this is my first time watching. I mean, he's not using his, which is just baffling.
He's just kind of charging in guard and hoping to drive him back with power, and that's something that I really haven't seen from him. So this, you're gonna see. Let's rewind this. I think it's gonna show a little. This is what you want from him. This is kind of what you want to see more. Line up in a 3 technique, guard pulls, and this is a really hard task to ask of the tackle to slide over and to pick up the 3 technique and try to wash him out before Hedrick can get a throw off. And this is what you want to see more of is, and this is kind of what you're relying on if you're going to take him that high, is that he's going to be able to fire off the snap and just basically shoot gaps, especially if you have a guard pulling and hoping that either the center or the tackle can't zone to him quickly enough. Right there, another thing I noticed a lot is when he runs out of room, rather than, or especially when he gets double teamed, he tends to, right there, kind of just stops his feet. He gets stood up, stops his feet, and rather than trying to attack one man or to split the double team, he stops his feet and he kind of acknowledges that the snap's over. Double teamed again. Guard kind of branches off and center branches off, excuse me, and once again goes nowhere. So right here, I believe it's a design stunt, but it could be by his own just maybe improvisation. But he gets a nice pressure there. But once again, this is, other than the pressure earlier against the tackle, this is second pressure of the game, and we're still into the first quarter. But out of a lot of opportunities, he's kind of failed to take advantage of any other than the one earlier. And I'm not going to take a defensive tackle in the top 15 if I have to stunt him to get pressure on the quarterback. So kind of gets pressure there, but then you realize it's a screen. The guard just sheds him, and that's by design. And I love seeing my boy J.J. on the film. He went to my high school. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and he lit it up back then too.
Did he stay healthy back then?
No, he still had some injury problems the one year that he was there. Once again, he fires off the snap, just kind of drives his shoulder into the middle of the guard. Right here. Just kind of drives his shoulder right into the middle. Now, trying to get skinny and squeeze through a gap is entirely different, but he's kind of just throwing his body at the guard. Right there. And then, once again, runs out of room, spins the opposite way, and it works. But Ajayi picks him up, ball's thrown. So the guard gets lower and ends up driving him a yard or two off the ball right here. Or maybe it's the tackle. Let's rewind that. Okay, I think it's tackle. Gets lower, he gets stood up, starts backpedaling, ends up a few yards off the ball. I mean, if you're going to be a 290-pound defensive end playing against a college offensive tackle and a goal line set, you've got to be able to hold your own. Right here, he ends up in the end zone. Double team, got to pick one or split the gap. And this would require him using his hands, which he struggles with.
I mean, you talk about all the things you're supposed to do, getting good low leverage, getting your. I mean, people talk about slow hands as a problem. He's not even putting his hands up there.
He's not.
Which is,
right here, gets a free run on kind of a broken play, and for those watching up to this point, now I realize we're 3 minutes into one game. This is an incredibly small sample size, but what stands out to you as a top 15 pick about him? That's the question I wanted to ask. And I mean, as time goes on, there are one or two snaps later where you finally see, okay, that's what we're looking for. But it's just it's few and far between, and I'll point them out as they come, but they don't come very often.
yeah, I mean, we saw it on the big hit he had early in the first quarter, but I mean, if 3/4 of the plays are just, I mean, it's going to be even more than 3/4. You're banking on a lot for just a few plays a game.
Oh, precisely. Some of the snaps are a bit choppy, and so it's hard for me to tell what's going on, but don't worry about it. Right here, there's a lot of plays where task is simply to maintain gap integrity, and he does that, and that's all you're looking for. If the run goes the opposite way, most of the time you're not going to expect your defensive tackle to nick that play. Screen the opposite way, yeah, a lot of snaps that don't necessarily matter. All right, right here, this is a good job, and you finally get some penetration. Sees a gap between the guard and the tackle, and rather than slamming his body into the guard as he usually does, he actually manages to kind of lower his shoulder, dip into the gap, and gets a hand up there, and ball gets deflected and picked off. So fantastic play by him. There we go. Here's a better angle. Gets low, dips just the amount he needs to. No, he's lucky this was a short designed throw to his side, but you still have to give him credit for that. And so these are the kind of splash plays I would see when I was watching him live and seeing, okay, you know, look at him making a difference. And if you're paying kind of passive attention to the game and you see the QB hit earlier and you see a tip pass here for an interception, you assume he's a difference maker. But on the majority of snaps, you see it's just not true.
Yeah, I mean, because right now we're talking about one good play a quarter.
Let's rewind this snap real quick. Let's rewind this snap. All right, watch him real quick. I believe it's the tackle comes over and he's pancaked on the opposite side of the hash. All right, right here. He fires off the ball. It's the guard comes over, and he's leveled. Not what you want to see from a supposed top 5, top 10 pick. Once again, kind of just lowers his shoulder into this closed space, gets him nowhere, tries to spin the other way. And it's a habit you'll notice a lot. And occasionally it works out, but I mean, you've got to rely on using your hands, stacking and shedding. I can't really name a snap that I saw him stack and shed. That's worrying. All right. Let's rewind that snap. Oh, actually, sorry, it's all good. So what you're going to see here, I mean, you see Nkemdiche get another quarterback hit, and that's what you're looking for. But here's what we're looking at. The guard pulls, and the center is asked to zone to get Nkemdiche, who's an athletic 3 technique, who's quick off the ball. That's a very hard assignment for any center. Most athletic 3 techniques can and should make that play. So that's kind of the edge rusher equivalent of getting a free run, or just having a tight end kind of miss an assignment or not see you coming late. We can give him credit for the quarterback hit, but most 3 techniques are going to make that play. Finally get some penetration there. That's what you're looking for. Another issue that you're kind of going to notice is, for this freak athlete, never do you really see him just drive an offensive lineman backwards with a bull rush, and that's pretty basic and essential to the defensive tackle success. And it kind of raises the question of him being a tweener, and this is a question that's been raised a lot. But he's kind of at an awkward stage. I believe he's 6'4", 6'5", and around 200. I think he played around 290. And a lot of people kind of naturally want to stick him at 3 technique, but as you see, I'm not sure that he's strong enough for that. And 5 technique could be interesting, but a lot of people are going to falsely label him as versatile rather than as a tweener. And versatile implies that you can be good at a lot of positions. Players like, my favorite would be Khalil Mack. He could, if asked to play defensive end in a 4-3, he probably could. As a 3-4 outside linebacker, he'd thrive, and even if you asked him to play off the ball, he'd still be a very good linebacker. And that's versatility. But as a tweener, I'm not sure. I think we're giving him too much credit by calling him versatile. I think I'd rather label him as a tweener. That it might be a struggle to find a natural position for him. Gets a little antsy, kind of jumps. Offensive line gets lower. He gets driven a little bit back. Same story. Low man wins.
Yeah, just looking forward to the NFL. There are so many things. It's one game. The NFL offensive line are just going to pick him apart and destroy him with.
Oh, absolutely. He's an athlete, and at this point, that's just about 90% of what he is. There are a few snaps coming up that give me hope that maybe if he just learns to do this more consistently, then maybe he'll have a chance. But right now he's a gap shooter. That's what you're relying on. You're relying on an athletic tweener to shoot gaps, not by using his hands, not by redirecting the flow of traffic, not by stacking and shedding, but he's going to have success if he manages to get lucky.
Now, is there a level of concern for you that, this was his second year, that we're still seeing a lot of what seems like freshman issues?
Yeah, and by now, especially as a top recruit, you'd think he'd be a little bit more developed, and you wouldn't see this many kind of technical flaws, just very basic stuff, stacking and shedding, using your hands, especially when pass rushing. See, right there is a good snap, and this is one of the ones that give me hope. But then the super athletic Grant Hedrick, outruns him and shakes him, and you got to be able. Another thing you'll notice is his finishing is not fantastic. Right here, gets the guard kind of overset, forces his own way, pushes him outside, squeezes the gap, and then Hedrick shakes him. That's what you want to see a little bit more of. Still got to finish the play, but perfect. He's a better look. Comes outside, gets a nice push, creates some little gap for himself, goes through it, and then footing. Once again, if you rewind the snap a little bit, he has space to kind of either side of him, and he still throws his shoulder right into the center. I think it was the very center of the center. I think maybe it was the guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the middle of the guard. Has space on either side. It's a short throw to the outside, so it didn't matter all that much. But man, just club, swim, rip, not rip right into him. It's incredibly frustrating.
I mean, then you see those times he uses his hands, and it's effective, but he'll go right back to throwing the shoulder.
Yeah, and it's frustrating to see the inconsistencies. And so you're relying on a lot of upside, and that he's also going to have a natural position, which I'm not personally convinced of. Once again, kind of stunts around. Cody Pruitt levels him. Design stunt. It's a beautiful hit. Sometimes you have to appreciate the other parts of the film because this is, especially when the film isn't going well. So right there is some, you see him drive his feet, and you're looking to see more of that. Once again, beautiful hit. I think it was Tony Connor. But you see him drive his feet, and he gets a little bit too high when he comes off. Boom, kind of right there. He's already a little bit higher than the guard. And you see him bull rush, and he's trying to get a good push going, and unable to really do much damage because he gets so squared up with his hips and just kind of standing so upright. He's not getting much drive. Sometimes I wonder about his functional strength. It doesn't appear to be where it needs to be for a 3 technique. Broken play, not much. Once again, uses his hands, and this is a pass rushing set, and he ends up 3 yards past the line of scrimmage. How did he even manage that? Right here. Runs into a wall, and he actually uses his hands, but once again, just I'm not sure about his functional strength and his ability to really get a push. This is a good snap. He closes down, he squeezes down with the flow of traffic, uses his hands actually to push the tackle along. Tight end can't quite adjust, and kind of forces a jibe back outside, whereas other teammates can make the tackle. That's a good play by Nkemdiche, and I'll give him credit for it. But you want to see more of that. Unfortunately, on most snaps, it just kind of he might do 1 or 2 things right, but very rarely does it put it together. And when he does put it together, great things happen. But that's not even 5-10% of snaps at this point. Once again, bull rushes, and then once he gets stood up, his force goes upward rather than forward. Very, very, very rarely are you going to get a good bull rush out of that. He's got to learn to drive with his lower body while keeping his upper body square and also decently low, rather than standing up as he tries to push. It's not going to get him anywhere. Once again, shoulder, and this is nice. You see him come off the block rather than try to continue, but throws a shoulder into I think the guard or the center. Actually comes off once he realizes he has nowhere to go, and running back kind of runs right into him. Shoots a gap, just not quick enough. On that snap, he actually drove with his feet, maintained decent height, and he actually kind of gets somewhere with that, and that's what you're looking to see more of. Once again, just kind of he runs out of room, he realizes he's not going to win, tries to spin out of it, same result. Shoots a gap, washed out. Noticing a pattern here?
Several.
Several. Shoots a gap. I'm not sure if he lost his balance or footing, but he ends up on his back again. Shoots a gap. Misses the play. Now, JHI is tough to bring down, but if you're a 290-pound athletic defensive lineman and you have a free run at him and his momentum is stopped, you have to make this play in the backfield. I don't care if you're a corner, safety, linebacker, you have to make that play. Fires off, uses his hands. And one thing that should be noted is that it seems Boise State they are giving him a lot of attention, and he's seeing a decent amount of double teams, as most three techniques will, especially the ones that I'm not sure too much about Ole Miss's other threats as far as along the defensive line and in the front seven. I know he's getting a lot of attention by the offensive line here, but what he's shown is consistently that he doesn't know how to handle double teams very well. Most of the time he ends up driven off the ball, and you can't have that.
Oh yeah, that's the thing for most elite defensive linemen who are getting double teams, that they're still able to make some plays happen, especially at college.
Mm-hmm. Versus a very average college offensive line, he's really not showing up.
This has been a frustrating game for all the hype.
And I mean, I know I won't be around, but throughout the year, just count how many times you see him in a pass rushing set. Just him and a guard, just him and the tackle, or when he's one-on-one, and how many snaps does he win? Now, this seems like a good snap at first. Once again, it's a screen. Guard's fine with him shedding him. It's frustrating because you finally think he wins, and yeah, no. Right here, this was a very good snap by him. You see him fire off the ball, maintains decent, low center of gravity, uses his hands, sheds, kind of clubs. Oh, sorry, yeah, this was previous snap. This next snap. Right, fires with the ball, stays pretty low, uses hands, sheds, and then gets the quarterback right after he throws. But it's good to see him getting pressure. Kind of forces Hedrick to check down to Ajayi, and it's short. Wonderful things happen when he uses his hands, but Samuel zones out. He gets tied up, nowhere to go.
I mean, you want to like him as a prospect because of the athletic traits and when he uses his hands, but he's not doing it nearly consistently.
Not nearly. And he's incredibly frustrating to watch, and to see him get the hype and to turn on the film and wonder where it's coming from. But
if he was a 3-star prospect coming out of high school, where do you think people would have him now?
I really don't know if he'd be on the radar based on his film alone. I think he'd probably be viewed as a mid-round, maybe 5th, 6th round pick. And if he was known as, it depends on how people viewed his athleticism. But yeah, without his recruitment hype, right now he's a tweener who has a lot of inconsistencies and technical flaws on tape. There's no way he's being touted as a top 15, 20 pick, let alone top 10, top 5 as some have them. Right there, you finally see the first burst of power throughout this game, and there's 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Right. Low, finally gets a push. And you notice that he drives with his legs for pretty much the first time this game. Once again, drives his shoulder into the guard. Same old that we've seen throughout this game. Kind of runs into dead end, spins the opposite way. All right.
Yeah, so that wraps it. Just your thoughts on the game and just, a lot of the issues that you came back to, because, yeah.
Yeah, so this game kind of highlights what you see from most of the time. I think it's this Mississippi State game. I think it was fairly similar. Whatever else is up on Draft Breakdown. It's really frustrating to watch, and you see the potential, and you see obviously he's a tremendous athlete, and that's kind of all he's known for right now. It's easy to get it fooled into the hype, and that's what I was originally. Once again, I heard his recruitment, saw Bleacher Report showing there's a fake punt he did, and it shows this 300-pound defensive lineman, and he just taken off down the field. And just kind of get caught up in the hype surrounding the name and just the name recognition, but turn on the film, a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of trends and habits that he has, driving his shoulders straight into the center of the offensive lineman, not getting leverage, standing straight up off the snap, not using his hands effectively, spinning when he's out of space rather than just kind of holding his own. It's easy to predict what he's going to do, and right now we're not seeing the best of him, and hopefully his best football is to come, because he does have potential, but right now I'm not seeing it, and there's no way I'm investing a first-round pick on him.
I mean, I have so many more questions because just throwing his shoulder. I mean, not even trying to panic, just throwing his shoulder into the guard is just baffling to me. Seems like something you'd see from a high school player, and I'm not sure if. We've seen sometimes use his hands. I'm not sure if it's a coaching thing that's going on. I'm not sure if he's slow to picking up what they're teaching him or what. But I mean, we're 2 years in now. We're seeing the same thing. I'm pretty sure. You can always go back and watch. Same issues existed last year. So we're hoping that improves. I mean, but when he uses his hands, you like it a lot. The strength is still a question. You mentioned the strength
Definitely
is ideal. That's the question mark. So I just have so many questions, and it's frustrating given how athletic he is. But
it is. But yeah, as for those touting him as the top 10 pick right now, I'm wondering what they see in him that I'm not.
The highlight reel.
Yeah, and everybody has. If any draft picks are watching this and you happen to like him, that's totally fine. Everyone has their own opinion, and I'm just not seeing it based on what I've seen. Hopefully he can turn it around, and hopefully we see some strides. But I'm really not sure. I'm not sold on him at this point, and nor do I really have a reason to be.
Definitely, Chandler. I want to thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, I had to get you on before you go on your trip. I mean,
anytime, man.
Twitter's gonna miss you while you're gone, my friend.
Thank you, man. I'm gonna miss you all back.
And how long? And when do you leave?
I leave this Wednesday.
Holy goodness!
I still got to pack, man. Pack 2 years of my life away, so I gotta get to that.
Well, all right, man. Best of luck. Seriously, Twitter, the work you've been doing. We look forward to you coming back, hearing about all that happened, the work you're doing in the future. And again, man, what you're doing over there for 2 years, my hat's off to you. That's incredible.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Everyone, I want to thank you for watching Under the Lens. We got more coming Thursday. We're going to watch another Jared Goff game with Ian Wharton at NFL Film Study. Friday, we're going to look at Jalen Smith, a linebacker Notre Dame.
He's good.
With Charles McDonald and Derek Clausen. So looking forward to that. And be sure to share this out. Let everyone know. Trying to go Under the Lens, so the more you can share it, the more that helps. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.